Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're viewing us from, thank you for watching this beautiful show, the Benjamin Zulu Show. Now, most of us in dating are always prompted to hide all the issues that we're going through because of fear of the unknown. One of the fears that people actually are of is that somebody will just ghost the moment they realize that you are going through a certain issue. Now, today, we want to talk about health, the health perspective. How you'd realize that some people freak out or they're afraid of dating because of either the health or fertility issues. How do you date when you have a fertility issue? That is why Benjamin is here again today. Hey, Benjamin.
Hello, and we are talking about a sick issue.
Yes.
Not in the fact that of the health complication, but of the way we stigmatize and make it difficult for people to cope with the situations that come upon them at no fault of their own. Let me repeat. It's not the fertility issues that women and men sometimes have to deal with. It's the sickness of society in trying to blame you.
Yeah.
So although we are discussing sometimes conditions, things that look like they're sick, it's the sickness, it's in our attitude. And how backward we are. We are coming still from superstition and witchcraft and blaming and curses until a basic biological, medical situation that should have addressed like a toothache.
Yeah.
Hey, now, those who are in it, we are having to comfort them or now to address it when they are dating because they are afraid of being rejected and stigmatized and being called names. Where are we? Where are we, Brahma? So today, this topic became necessary because we are getting many questions about ladies asking, now, this age 21, 22, 20, 26 being diagnosed with cyst like PCOS or PCOS or fibroids or a condition that is threatening my fertility. And doctors advise which period will be, you have chances for getting a child. Yeah. Or they advise surgery, surgical operation, or they advise something. And then at that time, many of them are not yet into relationships, or they were not even there. Because of the times you're living in, some of these conditions are getting very early onset. Our feeding mannerisms, our lifestyles, the general climate and where we are in. There before, these conditions will come slightly later in life. The lifestyle was different. Today, lifestyle is different, and young girls as young as 20, 21, they be diagnosed with the conditions. Yeah. But there before, they would show up way later, many times after women are done with getting children. And the woman wonders, now, they were asking at what point when I start dating, do I reveal such personal information? And if I keep telling everybody and they're going away, how many people end up knowing my personal information? I mean, there's a dilemma and a disturbance when you're being given that kind of diagnosis and the general public doesn't know about those things. They think it's a curse. and the relief, kind of relief was how many people related. The moment I posted that lady's question and my answers, when she was asking about have this condition being diagnosed with, at what point how do I handle it? Will I find someone? What if I can't get a child? Are there men who want marriage even if they're not children? She was asking those kind of questions. And primarily, we want to start by removing the personal responsibility and shame for medical conditions. Let us agree that if you find yourself in a situation, if something has happened in your life, accept it with equanimity. That's a big word to say. This is a course of life. Many of the conditions of women show up early in life. Conditions that are unique to women are coming earlier in life. They're concerning reproductivity. So men think they're exempted, but the conditions of men show up later in life.
Yeah.
I saw an analysis saying that there's a particular cancer that is very aggressive in Africa. The doctors were saying, we are yet to find the reason. But you will say, men, please go test for prostate cancer. It's very aggressive in Africa. They're saying over there in the world, they hardly need to conduct general population scans. The doctor was expressing a disappointment that they set up a cheap subsidized scannings in Kenyatta University, one of our places here. And the same few people showed up. And yet when you go to the wards of those who are sick, it's a very aggressive disease. He says it begins to show symptoms when it has already advanced. And it can wipe out a family's wealth and then still cause death. He's saying insurances are beginning to cover them. But when it is detected early, it is doable. But you see where they are conducting the scan is a very private place. I can understand why many men did not show up. Many men think the masculinity is in, even in family planning, we are still burdening the women with it.
Yeah.
And yet there's something we can do ourselves. But men define themselves by one particular element. And anything targeting that area is treated with suspicion. And yet it is for your own good. The doctor wants to scan. Where do you want to scan? So he's afraid of any activity in that general zone. Can we outgrow these biases? This is your body. It requires to be taken care of. In fact, if you love a particular area, you should take better care of it. Are we together? When you love your car, you service it regularly. Yeah. And you make sure it's in good condition so that it can serve you for longer. Are we together? Bramwell, I suggest you take that scan. I mean, maybe you should take ourselves and then we are here to... Honestly, Bramwell, I'm concerned. In Africa, we don't have resources. We don't have a lot of reserves. Many of us don't have insurance covers. Many people over there. Then a disease comes that is demanding millions. And everybody connected to that person in the friendship, relative, anybody, you're pushed because you can't see them just die. They have chemo, there's processes. Part of my aim in life, I'm looking for a doctor one day with time, who wants to set up the clinic, and then we partner as friends, we set it up. Many centers for scanning. I don't want to wait until people are sick and I start treating. I want to mobilize guys. Let's prevent it. And he was saying if you scan 1,000 people, you might end up saving as many as 100 cases. Imagine that. If you might save those cases before they become problematic. He said we do biopsy, He said when it is this young, you solve it quickly with little complications. But when you just ignore and go on, anybody who gets it, the whole of that sac of that person is depleted. Today we are discussing health conditions that affect the reproductive system of women, and men should not feel especially exempted. We are hunted and haunted as men. Only that our problems are coming later. Women also, of course, there's breast cancer, but I took that particular interest about how men in Africa are they're saying elsewhere, when you look at data, in America, India, they're saying that cancer is significant, very small proportions. It's not outstanding. It's not something they need special attention. But nobody is giving us the data. Nobody is telling us what we are threatened by. One time somebody told me, a doctor friend told me, be checking your vitals. What is vitals? Sugar levels, blood pressure. Say, check them. Sometimes they don't collapse at once. And the doctor asked me very fundamental questions I never thought about. Anybody in your family were diabetic? Yeah, remember my mom lived. Oh yeah, okay. Anybody? Yeah, remember. So if anything ever occurred in your bloodlines, be aware of it. It's better to be scanning every now and then, even if you don't have it. When it is early onset, when it is beginning to show signs, it's manageable and you live a normal life, fairly normal life, when they detect it early. But we live in ignorance to wait until we react when the situation has collapsed. I want health so that I can perform my career until the end. That's what I want. Don't forget, brother, there's a guy called Jack Cole. Jack Cole was a very vibrant preacher, but he was plus size. Your body is just a body. Don't be too particular with it. Just analyze it. The way you analyze a shoe, so that you can determine the kind of care it requires. Are we together? It's a shoe that we brush, another one requires a suede, another one. Just analyze the shoe. Are we together? Jack had a plus body that required what kind of care? Gym, rest. But he was so passionate. He went on and on and on and on and was being slow down, giving his body care. He died early because of poor self-care. So let's start with women who have to deal with health conditions. We are comforting them that we also have our own health battles. You should not feel alone. Yeah. And we are even mobilizing us as men. One day I want to be holding conferences for cancer scanning. We talk many issues, and then I saw a men conference thing that was telling people to shave their beards. They were addressing beards to say we're talking about men. So guys, come we shave. They're using symbolically shaving to mean shaping our manners as men. And I'm thinking of borrowing that idea. I just say it's a shaving, because women don't usually have beards. So I'll say men and their beards. You're going to shave. I really liked the concept. It was a coded message for masculine issues. So, women, you have to deal with problems in your system, and the problem is people tend to associate those problems with your value as a woman. And I want you to start as a woman by associating your worth elsewhere other than your womb, other than your reproductivity. I want you as a woman. Bramwell, let's emphasize this, because I've seen even today people who have a following, Twitter, Instagram, people they're saying a woman is about a woman, a woman is about a woman, speaking vulgar things and reducing women to the woman childbearing ability, and yet she is not a cow. A woman has a mind. A woman has a personality. She has thoughts. She has presence. And I countered such a backward argument by asking them, my friend, Samia Zulu, how many children, or how many of children Samia Zulu do you know?
None.
But do you know the woman?
Yes.
Is she a president?
Yes.
Is she serving a nation?
Yes.
Is she making a change?
Yes.
Is she inspiring cows?
Yes.
Where is the woman playing a part there? Do you see how blatantly wrong such an argument is? Mm-hmm. She has her children, she has her family life as a mother. We don't know details. We don't need to know. But as a woman, she's changing the world. Mother Teresa, how many children did she have?
None.
Because she was her? The same thing you have said. Just the spelling. Being a sister, being in that regiment of serving where they dedicate themselves fully to church, she dedicated themselves to herself, to the poor of the Calcutta, India, and changed the world. Look at how many women have moved the world, changed lives, because of their personality, their passion, their mind, their heart. As a woman, remove your identity from down there, bring it slightly up to the heart. What the most important thing about women is their heart. They mother us, they nurture us, even when they did not give birth to us. Don't buy that narrative that your value is in your ability to bear a child. There's greater. Deborah of the Bible is not her children that we know. It's what she did. It's how she went and conquered armies. Being able to bear children is only a part of your life, but it's not the definitive. You can have no children and be very influential. There are people who have children and they are not responsible for the children. The other day, a rehabilitation center went to bury a boy who had been neglected by the mother, ends up in street, got diseases, the mother neglects again. They try to treat, to rehabilitate, the boy died eventually. A mother who gave birth but does not have a heart. It's not enough to give birth if you don't have a heart. I have seen situations that are so desperate because a mother did not want. So as a woman, start by saying, I am more than giving birth. I can raise those I did not give birth to. I can mother the world. I can change a life. Brahma, recall back in your journey in life. Kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, you see mothers who shapes your life, and they are not your biological mother. Yeah. Your biological mother did a very good thing, bringing you into the world. But we also know it takes more than just being born to become useful in this world. You must be mothered, nurtured, raised. So, start by changing your identity to say that even if a doctor has given me a diagnosis, and I'm telling you the solutions of how to enter the world, how to seek a soulmate when you have such a condition. At the back of your mind, you know there's a situation. And we have started by empathizing and telling you, even those who are trying to categorize you and leave you because of your situation, they have their own battles. They're just ignorant about them. Men also have other fertility issues. Today I just focus on one of the cancers that is more rampant in Africa, and it affects men's reproductive health. But we also have other issues that are not reproductive. Many men who are into pornography and masturbation, they lose their sexual energy, they lose their fertility, they develop erectile dysfunctions. In fact, if there are people, this agenda that is haunted in sexuality, it's men, because pornography is targeted for men. About domination, about control, about exploitation, about objectification of women. And it's very ignorant for a man to give you labels as a woman, just because you are diagnosed with cysts or fibroids or something that is not even you to blame. And yet he himself as a man, he has more fertility challenges, risks, habits to face, even more than you. The right response, Brahman, is empathy. Knowing that this condition could have come when we are already inside. True or false?
True.
Never. Biological situations, conditions should not make you judge people's character. Ask yourself, this can land on anyone. Let me read who I'm dealing with. Of course, we're not saying you ignore the fact that maybe for some people, children are very important. They like to get up. We're not saying you ignore it. But you're saying, don't look at the person differently just because of what they have stepped on. And you don't know what is in front of you yourself. All right? So we are saying this. You as a woman, many of them are crushed because they defined themselves by the ability to get a child. And I took that time to tell them that how you see yourself is how you teach the world to see you. Yeah. I want you to determine that you have more value in this world as a woman, and that you have gifts, talents. I was telling them that radioactivity was invented by a woman. Radioactivity. That's how they make atomic bombs. That's how they make electricity in the US, the first world. That's how radioactivity is so useful today for energy generation, weaponry, and many other sectors of life. I want you to understand that a woman can change the world in more ways by what she conceives in her mind, not just what she conceives in her womb. She has another place to conceive ideas, concepts, support. So we are saying the second thing you're going to do as a woman is, so you do not define yourself basically by your womb, although you may long a lot. You may have maternal instincts or baby fever, you may long, you may have more, or in your personality you may desire to nurture. And that's okay, that's good, your heart is, you may have that. But remember, not all women have that. It does not mean they are any less of a woman. It does not make them any less of a woman. There are women who the kind of life they led and how they changed the world. When you read women like the Mijikenda champions, who are women who saved situations, who fought colonialism, who saved slaves, who revolutionized the world. All that was not just about giving birth. The second thing you're going to do as a woman is, once you're given the diagnosis, take it for what it is, but it is not a doom. Many women say they were also given the PCOS diagnosis. They've been given the fibroid diagnosis, but by faith and being confident, they still ended up getting children. It is never final, unless it's an extreme case. Many of these things happen, and if you compose yourself, learn what you can do, look for remedies, a certain lifestyle, still maintain faith. If God ordained you to get a child, you still get a child. Just maintain your faith. Whatever will happen is what was destined for me. One lady got that diagnosis and got pregnant, and she was so excited, but about 8 months, they lost the pregnancy. And she has such a big heart. They went again, tried again. Now they have a baby. What courage did it take to go through all that? And it's a very emotional affair. But she has a very understanding man. They're just journeying. The man tells her, don't worry, God is with us. Let's do what we have to do and live life while we are at it. You need a man like that? While we are at it, hey, let's take a trip. Hey, let's enjoy this. Hey, let's have a party. While we are at it. It's Joyce Meyer who emphasizes, as you wait for God to do what you want him to do for you, live life.
Yes.
While you are waiting. Live life. Stop waiting for that thing to pass so that you can finally wake up, finally greet people, finally be happy. No. Believe and go on doing what you need to do. Your life has many moving parts. So the second thing is to not take it as a final word. The diagnosis is just there. And sometimes when you're going to get a child who could have changed the world, or when giving birth was also very important, the enemy will try to throw in obstacles. You can also assume maybe it's an obstacle because the child I'll give birth to is important. But if you never wanted a child yourself, you just treat the conditions that it keeps you healthy. Or if you are not very keen, the women who don't in the past, how busy they are. When they look at their life, they may not have enough time for a child. I've seen women who are telling me, when I look at my life and how I live and the kind of my career, my day-to-day living, and the things in my heart, and I don't see a place for settling, slowing down to look at after a child. I may not give quality mothering. And for that reason, I would rather not. That's a very sober assessment. Very sober. Extremely sober assessment. So the third thing you're going to do is do not rush to get pregnant. Sometimes they tell you need to get pregnant in the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. If you want to conceive, hurry up. Never rush to get a child. Don't get a child when you're not ready, when you're not married. That child will bring another complication. That child will bring other aspects that will trouble you for very long. That child will bring other dynamics that you are not prepared for. The baby daddy, unless you can do things like IVF, or you can do other extreme measures on a day-to-day basis. Stick to your schedule. Marry when you're ready. Now start trying to get a child when you're ready. Remember the options, other options of getting a child. You can adopt. You don't always have to give birth naturally. And there are two, God can bless you with children and you are not the one who carried them in your own. And He can give you the grace to connect to that child as if it were your own, and even better. And remember, you can give birth to your own child and you don't become friends. Yes. You can get a child who was not yours and you become best of friends. I was told of a family where the lady had a child when they got married, and the man connected with the child so well. Today they're still tight and is many years down the line. Best of friends. As paradox would have it, when they got their own kid, the kid is rebellious, so they're still struggling with the kid. The child of both of them is rebellious. The stepchild, they saw, and the man tried it. He gave the same attention to both. I said, what if he was not dogmatic? Man who said, I don't want a personal child, or I know I want my own. I said, look at these twists of life, Brahma. Sometimes the one you are thinking is not mine could be the one who will take you far in life. Could be the one who will help you advance, make steps, make moves in life. So we are saying, don't rush to get a baby with just anyone, to create another complication. And we said, when you have premarital sex, you can't pray about it. God, I'm about to do it. Help me that I find the right person. Do you pray like that? No. Never do things. You can't have the courage to ask for God's assistance. If you go for battles that you think they are too small for God to help you, like a small country like AI, that's a country called small city. Israelites went to conquer after they had conquered Jericho. They were beaten. They only sent, 300, small people, a small number of people, thinking, it's a small city. You may think, finding a person to sleep with and get pregnant is easy. Only that you are getting attached to a narcissist who will proceed to torture your life. The reason I don't want you to have premarital sex is because you can't pray for it. Yeah. And you can't see beyond what the eyes can show you. There could be dangers hidden. There could be risks. There could be things that if you proceed like that, they will ruin your life. But what do people do? They think it's just a baby. I just want to fulfill the situation. No, don't rush. Take your time, that when the time comes, you can ask God for a child. God is capable to do anything you believe Him for. He can give you a child normally, naturally, or a child through adoption, or child. God can do what He created you to do. We are two kinds of wills. God has the perfect will, the plan He had for your life, including this diagnosis. God foresees. God is not surprised. He's with me. And then there's permissive will. Permissive will is what you insist, and He allows because you have insisted. Yeah. God never wanted the children of Israel to have a king. He was their king. He fought with the Pharaoh. He was fighting for them. But at some point, they got into peer pressure. Oh, the guys around here, the kings. They wanted to be like other guys around. And Samuel told, now they're asking for a king. I think they're rejecting me. Samuel was still the leader, the prophet, the one who was mediating between them and God. But they refused. They said they want a king. Permissive will. God allowed, but He warned them what it will cost them. The king will make your boys take for military with your own sons. He will make slaves or workers, those kind of things. And Saul was bad news. They got a king, yes, could fight, but he complicated their lives. Later on, God brought another king. So that taught me, they insisted, but God still went with what they have insisted. Later on, to perfect His will, David comes, and our Lord comes in the lineage of David. Mm-hmm. So even if you have insisted on some things, there are people today who are living a marriage of permissive will. not perfect will, just what God would you insisted, and you said, if you insist, it's okay. So the other thing is to say, don't insist and rush out there and do something without God's perfect will. God's perfect will not require you to commit sexual immorality.
Yeah.
When a person sees that you are desperate to get a child, they can pretend in order to get you. So the last thing you do, how to break the news to the people you're dating, you tell them when you begin to know each other personally. And you can start from far by asking them what's their opinion. You can bring it as if the story of your friend who has fertility issues, who has a condition that might threaten her fertility. Or you might bring an actual story an actual story of a friend Many times after you get this kind of diagnosis, you may have known a few people. They may have been WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups you got to know about. And health support groups or a doctor who showed you. So you may bring up the topic somehow to see whether the person is open to that. Because there are men who start asking for a child the moment they start dating you, and you say that is not dating, they are dragging you in the wrong direction, and you regret it. If you cooperate, the person is not talking about marrying you. They're talking about getting a child first, meaning fornication first, meaning premarital sex first, meaning pinning you down, planting themselves in your life through the child permanently without any commitment and permanence. Be careful. So we are saying you want to hear and tell them that after you have heard their opinion, tell them, I actually also happen to have a similar situation. I went for this and I was told the following. This I'm going through. It is not guarantee that I'll never get, neither is it a guarantee that I want. It's just a probability, a situation that varies the situations. And primarily, there are people who may have fertility issues without any diagnosis. No diagnosis, and they just can't conceive. Yeah. And there's no diagnosis. Don't let a person think they are very safe just because they have no diagnosis. A child is a gift from God. So we are saying the following. You tell the person once you begin to get personal. They're interested, they get to know each other, and let them know early so that the disappointments are fewer. You're not telling them before they show any personal interest. Neither are you waiting until you're planning marriage. Are we together? Tell them between that time when they expressed interest and you are talking on phone and you met personally and you are liking them. If you don't like a person, don't tell them personal issues because there's no chance of going ahead. The last thing is never marry a person just because they accepted you with your condition. Marry a person whom you love. Let's repeat this. Many people, if they have a baby or a diagnosis or a fertility issue, they tend to lower their requirements to somebody who accepts me despite my situation. Don't marry a person just because they accepted you. You don't want to just be accepted, to be celebrated, cherished. You want a person who says, you are the one who my destiny is entwined with you, connected with you. I want to live with you. I want to do life with you. If that is not the case, don't marry. You only marry when you are sure this is the person I was supposed to be with. So we are saying, do not make that the center of your identity. It's just something you'll have to deal with along in life. And God is with you. And then finally remain very assured that your destiny will be fulfilled either way. Yes.
All right, your destiny will be fulfilled either way. Now, tell a person when you begin liking them. Benjamin, there is also something that prevents such kind of women to reveal this kind of news, because it may be bad news to the other person. It may be bad news to the essence, in the essence that there is a level of expectations from them. Why? Because the person is looking forward to, yes, I've met the potential and I'm looking forward to starting a family. Okay? Now, they'll fear losing the person because they've already liked the guy. They have seen that this is the guy I want. But now they say, if I tell them, they will disappear. So they tend to start buying time and pretending and struggling in their thoughts of how to go about it.
And it's true, sometimes when you have been attached to a person, detaching may be painful. Yeah. When I say liking, I don't mean when you have already fallen in love, gotten so emotionally. When the reason people lie is because they waited too long to tell the truth. Yeah. So the more they wait, the harder it becomes to reveal. The secret is to examine the person, see whether they're in the category of the people you're looking for after all. See, there's potential. He looks like what I'm looking for. Now let me tell him the truth to see whether he's still. And you are ready, you're prepared for him to fizzle out. But Brahman, when you have been in the dating market, you don't become frivolous to keep running away from potential women because you know how few they are.
Yeah.
A solid woman. Did you remind women to have more to offer than just their body?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, men will marry you because of the totality of what you bring.
Mm-hmm.
How you think, how happy you are, how composed you are, how you advise him with the quality advice, how you can listen to him until he feels relief. There are some things about you that are irresistible.
Yeah.
So we are saying, Brahma, don't be afraid to lose because you don't have him yet. Because he has not known everything about you. Tell yourself, he is not mine yet because he has not known me yet. Let me tell him what I am, then he will decide whether he still wants me. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You've hinted about the permissive will of God, and that reminded me of the preceptive will of God, the will of God that is always giving us every other day, His word.
You're right.
His word. So most of us have actually lost our identity because we don't know the preceptive will of God.
Mm.
Why? Because we don't read His word,
You're
so
right.
we don't know what He calls us.
Exactly.
And that is why we have a weak identity. And the only way we can satisfy that void is to actually identify ourselves by the kind of people, by our children, being a mother.
You're right.
We are forgetting that as women, they are natural nurturers.
You're
They
right.
nurture careers.
Exactly.
They nurture destinies.
Exactly.
That's what this...
And also societal labeling. You know, the way we name our wives, the mother of my children.
Exactly.
Mama watoto.
Yes.
And I told you, Brahma, to call your woman by her unique names.
Mm-hmm.
Not her roles as a mother. Not her roles. Call her by who she is, so that she can also feel accepted and embraced for who she is.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to decide that you will not tie yourself as a woman to that role of mothering, but you define yourself according to how God defines you. God does not say sons and daughters. He uses sons only. Mm-hmm. Because we are all people, human beings. The gender is physical and functional.
Yeah.
Besides the body, you're just you, a spirit. Spirits have no gender. Mm-hmm. There's more to you than your body. So don't limit to the roles that a woman can play. Mm-hmm. Be more deeper. As you study scripture, you begin to see, the purposes of God. How God loved me. How it's unconditional. How it's personal. You become more centered around God. So this is to say, the precepts of God, or how He views you, His word, you should accustom yourself to them so that you do not deviate to human biases. Mm-hmm. The reason you're being carried away by human biases and labels is because you don't have anything else. When you have God's word, you have something more stable to hold on to. Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you have God's word, you have something stable to hold on to, and that is the best way to actually end this conversation. Ladies, I hope you've gotten a piece of advice from Benjamin. All right, you need to know your identity and have more to offer. Thank you for watching the Benjamin Zulu Show. Till next time.